Okay, so 3, 3 is interpreting the unit rate of slope. So our slope, our denominator is going to have to be 1, but it's super easy, okay? So a rate in which the second quantity in a comparison is 1 unit is a unit rate. We're going to be making that denominator of your slope 1, okay? So you can use a table and a graph to find unit rate and slope that describe real-world proportional relationships. The constant of proportionality for a proportional relationship is the same as slope. We've already talked about that. That K value is the same thing as M. So remember, K was your constant proportionality and M is your slope, right? They're the same. So if you're writing equations, you can interchange K and M. They're both the same thing. They're both slope. So we're going to use these graphs here to find the slope and then make it a unit rate. So that means our denominator will be 1. And then we're going to write an equation. Okay? So if you remember, your equation is going to be in the form y equals mx plus b. But we don't have a b value at this point. So you're just going to be using the y equals mx form. You're going to put the slope, and you had it being k, right, before in your notes? Yeah. So now all you're really doing is replacing your k with your m value. You're putting whatever your slope is in front of x. So first of all, let's just count here.
It's 3 over 5.
Yep, so if I go up 3, I go over 5, right? Up 3, I'd always check a couple, over 5, because sometimes it's hard to see. But in this case, slope, and again, we always do rise over run, or change in y over change in x. You can always refer back to your notes in whatever way makes sense to you. We just counted, right? We could have taken 2 points and subtracted. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same answer, right? So our m value is up 3 over 5. That's our slope, right? Now, they want us to make it a unit rate, which means we have to get rid of our denominator. Because if we had labels on this, we would have 3 miles in 5 hours, right? That's what that means.
So would you do 3 divided by 5, then put the whatever that on top of 1?
We're just going to divide both of them by 5, right? Because your bottom, if I divide by 5, my denominator will be 5. So if I divide by 5, I get 3/5 on my top, right? So if I divide 3 by 5, and then I divide 5 by 5, I get 3/5 miles, right, in 1 hour. That's my unit rate. So my unit rate is 3/5 miles per hour. That's how fast Scott is hiking.
So it would be 3/5 over 1.
You don't have to put 1. Remember when you labeled unit rate, the per hour means 1 hour.
Well, what was the point of dividing if you just got to
But this means you're going 3 miles in 5 hours.
That was just friendly.
It's just easy, yep. But this is why it works, because I want miles in 1 hour.
But on harder ones, they're going to have to divide it.
I don't know of any that you'd have to, but I want you to see why it works. It's 3/5 miles per hour. This label here is 3 miles in 5 hours. See the difference? It just works out nice and friendly. But let's write our equation. Y is going to equal what? Tristan? Or are you just stretching? 3/5 x, right? Yep. All I do is put that slope in front of my x value. And our y equals mx. Any questions on this?
No.
Take good notes so it makes sense to you. Okay? Now this one's kind of hard because it crosses at 0, 0, and the next time it crosses, I don't think is until 4, 9. Do you want to do the counting, or let's do one with ordered pairs. So my pairs are 0, 0, right? And my other pair is 4, 9. Over 4 up 9 is my next point. Okay? That's actually on the graph. So if I could do my y2 minus my y1 over my x2 minus my x1. You can do slope like we did on the first one, rise over run, or you could do it this way, right? So I have 9 minus 0. If I subtract my x's, or my y's, right? 9 minus 0. Over, if I subtract my y's, 4 minus 0, right? So my slope is 9/4. My in value is 9/4. And if I label that, that's miles and hours. So I have 9 miles in 4 hours. So what's my unit rate?
9/4 and 9/4.
Wait, so does it matter which one you subtract? Do you subtract the bigger one?
I usually do. Otherwise, you're going to get a -9 over -4, which is still.
Because when I was doing Excel, I always had to switch it. Like I always had to make it positive because I always.
It doesn't matter. You're going to get, because -9 over -4 is still 9/4. So it doesn't matter. You can do it either way.
All right.
Okay? So our unit rate then, if we divide them both by 4 to get our hours being 1, we would have 9/4 miles per hour. Right?
Yeah.
That's my unit rate. And then the last thing it said was to write an equation. Who can tell me what the equation will be? Jackson?
Y equals 9/4 x.
Good. Okay.
I can do the next part too. Who's hiking faster?
So we have two different rates. 3/5 miles per hour or 9/4 miles per hour. So who is hiking at a faster rate?
Rebecca, because she's a full unit, and then another one. She's 2. She's 2 and 1/4, and then this guy's 9.
Yep.
This guy over here is just.
It's less than a mile, right? Rebecca
Even going 1
is
mile per hour. And Rebecca's going 2 miles.
hiking
I think they go
at a faster rate.
These miles are better.
Yeah, because
they got that
and you
mixed
can
up.
just see that by the slope. Of
She
the line.
is hiking more than 2 miles per hour. Where Scott, but maybe Scott's hiking through a tougher terrain, right? It might take him longer.
Or he's climbing up a ladder and they.
And if you even looked at the graphs, you should see that this is a slower rate than this, right?
Yup.
That's faster. Okay, our last set of notes will be dealing with the same thing from a table. So we're going to be looking for the unit rate in the table, okay? So again, we're doing y over x, right? So 3 over 1, or 6 over 2, or 9 over 3, or 12 over 4, all simplify to what?
3 over 1.
So our slope is 3. Now we already have that as a unit rate, right? We just have to label it. So it's 3, is it hours or inches? What's our label? Inches per hour. That's our unit rate. Okay? So we have our slope. We have our unit rate. What's our equation?
Y equals 3x.
Y equals 3x. Good. So on Tuesday, it rained 3 inches per hour.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to do Wednesday. So then we would have 2.75 over 1, or 5.5 over 2.
It's not provable.
It is. If you divide them all out. 8.25 over 3, and 4 over, or 11 over 4, excuse me. If you divide them all out, you're going to get the same answer. So it is proportional.
Can I give you the
What's the slope?
2.75?
2.75. What is your unit rate?
M equals 2.75.
No, 2.75 inches
2.75 inches
per hour.
per hour.
Y equals 2.75.
And your equation is y equals 2.75x. So we have our slope, we have our unit rate, and we have our equation.
Tuesday.
I feel like we're going super fast now. You guys are like whizzing, you're like,
It's just what happens.
you just get it and it clicks. Okay, so then the question asks, determine which day the rain was falling at a faster rate.
Tuesday, because 3 is bigger than 2.75.
Okay, Tuesday, because it was falling, whoops, at a rate of 3 inches per hour, and Wednesday was only 2.75 inches per hour. So guided practice is on 86. It says give the slope of the graph and the unit rate. So George, does 5 miles every 6 hours. Okay? So they even told us what it's 5 miles per 6 hours, right?
Yeah.
Over 5, up 6. Over 10, up.
12.
That's time though. So it should only be up 8. Or 10 would be, over 12 would be up 10. Here, there we go. So there's 1 point on there, okay? So our slope then is what?
5, 6 an hour.
5, 6. And our unit rate
Oh. Sorry.
is 5, 6 miles per hour.
It is so slow.
Okay. The next one we have 4 hours, 5 miles. So we would go 5 over 4, right?
Yeah.
Or 10 over 8.
Yeah.
Oops, that should be an 8, not a 5. So that all simplifies to 5/4, right? So our slope
Is he walking?
is 5/4. And our unit rate, if we label it, is what? 5/4
Miles per hour.
miles per hour. Okay, question 3 says the equation y equals 0.5x represents the distance Henry hikes in miles over time in hours. The graph represents the rate Clark hikes. Determine which hiker is faster. So we know that Henry is hiking 0.5, right, miles per hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's find Clark's. Looks like Clark went over. We're counting by 2. It's 2, 4, right? Up 6. So 6 over,
You went to like
4?
2 miles per hour.
which is 3 halves, right? Which is obviously more than a half, right? So who's hiking faster? Clark, because
His number's higher.
his rate is 3 halves miles, or you could say 1.5, doesn't matter, right? Per hour. And Henry's rate is 0.5 mile per hour. He's hiking 3 times faster, right? And you could have said this is 1.5 and this is 0.5. It doesn't matter. Either answer would work. Okay, now we're going to use the table to write an equation relating variables in each table. So all of these simplify to what as a rate? 15 over 1, right? 15. So our slope is 15. So m equals 15. What is our equation?
Y equals
15x. So make sure in your notes that you wrote y equals mx. Slope times x. You need to know that. Okay, and then what about in the next table? What do those all simplify to?
0.
3 what? 3/8, right? So your m value is 3/8, right? So what is your equation?
Y equals 3/8 at 8.
Okay, and then question 6 says describe methods you can use to show proportional relationships between two variables, x and y. For each method, explain how you can find the unit rate and the slope. So we did a table right now, right? So table was one way. And then what gives us slope? If we look at our table, we took what? Y over x. Okay? How you can find unit rates and slope. So y over x, and then simplify, right?
Yeah.
And then what was the other way we did? A graph.
Here's.
And then we could just do rise over run.
Okay.
And then again, you're simplifying that.
Shoemaker,
Yes, sir.
supposed to have computers open.
We should not. And then the last way we did it was an equation, right?
Yeah,
And how do we know what our unit rate is?
when it simplifies.
M equals slope. And unit rate is M simplified, right? Unit rate is M with denominator of 1, right? I kind of simplified that.